Success. What if I told you that the most powerful person in any room is usually not the loudest one? Success. What if the secret to commanding attention isn't speaking more, but speaking less? Every day, people desperately try to be noticed. They talk more, post more, success, explain more, and seek more validation, yet the people who truly capture attention often do the exact opposite. In today's speech, success, you'll discover the silent psychological principles that make certain individuals impossible to ignore. By the end, success, you'll understand why some people walk into a room and instantly command respect without saying a single word, and how you can develop that same presence. Success, stay with me until the end, because the final principle is the one that transforms ordinary people into unforgettable individuals. Success. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately noticed someone, even though they weren't speaking, weren't trying to impress anyone, and weren't demanding attention? Success. There was just something about them. Something that made people look twice. Something that made others naturally pay attention. Success. Most people assume that attention belongs to the loudest person in the room, but psychology tells us a different story. Success. The truth is that the people who command the most attention are often the ones who appear the most comfortable with themselves. They are not chasing recognition. Success. They are not performing for approval. They are simply present. And that presence creates a kind of silent influence that words alone can never achieve. Success. The problem is that most people spend their lives trying to be noticed. They talk too much, explain too much, and constantly seek ways to prove their value. Success. Every action becomes an attempt to gain validation from others. They believe that if they can just say the right thing, wear the right clothes, success, or achieve the right status, people will finally respect them. But the more desperately someone seeks attention, the more they communicate insecurity. Success. Human beings are incredibly sensitive to these signals. Even when no words are spoken, success. People can sense whether someone is comfortable in their own skin or desperately seeking approval. Success. This is why two people can walk into the same room and receive completely different reactions. One tries hard to be noticed and gets ignored. Success. The other simply exists with confidence and becomes impossible to overlook. Presence begins with self-awareness. Success. Most individuals move through life distracted by what others think about them. They enter conversations wondering whether they sound smart enough. Success. They worry about how they look, how they are being judged, and whether they are making a good impression. Their attention is directed outward. Success. But powerful presence is created when your attention returns inward. Instead of constantly monitoring other people's reactions, you become grounded in yourself. Success. You know who you are. You know your values. You know what you stand for. Because of this, your energy becomes stable rather than reactive. Success. And people are naturally drawn to stability. Think about the people you admire most. Chances are they possess a calmness that makes others feel secure. They don't rush. Success. They don't panic. They don't feel the need to fill every moment with noise. They are comfortable with silence because they are comfortable with themselves. Success. This is one of the greatest secrets of commanding attention. The ability to remain calm in situations where everyone else is seeking approval creates a powerful contrast. Success. In a world filled with noise, calmness becomes noticeable. In a world filled with distractions, focus becomes attractive. Success. In a world filled with people trying to prove themselves, authenticity becomes unforgettable. Psychologists often speak about emotional contagion. Success. The idea that emotions spread from one person to another. When someone enters a room carrying anxiety, uncertainty, or desperation, success. Those feelings affect everyone around them. But when someone enters with calm confidence, that energy spreads as well. People begin to feel more relaxed in their presence. Success. They trust them more. They listen more closely. This happens because true presence is not about controlling others. It is about controlling yourself. Success. The individual who masters their own emotions naturally influences the emotional atmosphere around them. Success. Another reason presence commands attention is because it signals strength, not physical strength, but psychological strength. Success. When a person remains composed under pressure, people assume they possess hidden capabilities. They assume there is something valuable beneath the surface. Success. This is why mystery often attracts attention. When you reveal everything immediately, there is nothing left to discover. But when you carry yourself with quiet confidence, success, people become curious. They wonder what experiences shaped you. They wonder what knowledge you possess. Success. They wonder why you seem unaffected by the things that disturb everyone else. Many people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence means dominating conversations, success, showing off achievements, or constantly proving superiority. Real confidence is much quieter than that. Success. Real confidence is the ability to sit in a room without needing to be the center of attention. Success. It is the ability to listen without constantly waiting for your turn to speak. It is the ability to remain secure even when no one is praising you. Success. This kind of confidence is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes powerful. People notice it immediately because they encounter it so infrequently. Success. The strongest presence in any room usually belongs to the person who has stopped trying to convince others of their worth. They have already accepted their own value. Success. They don't need constant validation because they are not dependent on external approval. Their confidence comes from within. Success. And that creates a sense of authenticity that cannot be faked. When people encounter someone like this, success, they instinctively pay attention because genuine self-assurance is one of the most attractive qualities a human being can possess. Success. Have you ever wondered why some people become more interesting the less they say? It seems almost backwards. We live in a world where everyone is encouraged to speak more. Success. Share more, explain more, and constantly put themselves in front of others. Social media rewards constant exposure. Success. Conversations are often dominated by people trying to tell their stories, prove their knowledge, and make sure they are heard. Yet, despite all this noise, success, the people who often capture the most attention are not the ones who reveal everything. They are the ones who understand the power of silence. Success. They know that curiosity is one of the strongest forces in human psychology, and curiosity grows wherever there is space for mystery. Think about how the human mind works. Success. Whenever information is incomplete, the brain automatically tries to fill in the gaps. It searches for answers. It creates possibilities. Success. It becomes focused on understanding what it does not yet know. This is why unfinished stories keep us engaged. Success. This is why unanswered questions stay in our minds longer than answered ones. And this is exactly why silence can become such a powerful tool. Success. When you don't reveal every thought, every feeling, and every detail about yourself immediately, people naturally become curious. They begin to wonder. Success. They begin to pay attention. They begin to invest mental energy trying to understand you. Many people sabotage themselves because they feel uncomfortable with silence. Success. The moment there is a pause in a conversation, they rush to fill it. The moment they meet someone new, they start revealing everything about their life. Success. They explain their goals, their struggles, their opinions, and their achievements before anyone even asks. Success. They believe that sharing more will make people more interested in them. But often the opposite happens. When everything is revealed immediately, success, there is nothing left to discover. The mystery disappears. The curiosity fades. The attention moves elsewhere. Success. The most influential people understand that silence is not weakness. Silence is not awkwardness. Silence is not a lack of confidence. In many cases, success. Silence is a sign of control. It demonstrates that you are not desperate for attention. Success. It shows that you are comfortable enough with yourself that you don't need to constantly prove your worth through words. And when people sense that level of self-control, success, they become intrigued. They want to know what gives you that confidence. Success. They want to understand what allows you to remain calm while everyone else is competing for attention. Have you ever noticed that when someone constantly seeks validation, success, people gradually lose interest? The more they try to impress others, the less impressive they appear. But when someone remains composed and selective with their words, success, people often lean in closer, they listen more carefully. Every sentence carries greater weight because it is not buried beneath endless explanations. Success, silence creates value because it makes your words rare, and rare things naturally attract attention. There is another psychological reason why silence creates curiosity. Success. Most people are predictable. Within a few minutes of meeting them, you know exactly what they think, what they want, and how they will react. Success. Predictability feels familiar, but it rarely feels exciting. Human beings are naturally drawn toward discovery. We enjoy learning about people. Success. Uncovering hidden qualities and finding unexpected depth. When someone reveals themselves gradually, they create an experience of discovery. Success. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to learn something new. This keeps attention alive far longer than constant self-disclosure ever could. Success. Silence also allows observation. While everyone else is focused on being noticed, the silent person is gathering information. They are paying attention to body language, success, emotions, motivations, and social dynamics. This gives them an advantage because understanding people is often more valuable than being understood. Success. The person who observes gains insight. The person who constantly talks misses important details. Over time, this awareness creates stronger relationships, success, better decisions, and greater influence. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that influence comes from saying more. In reality, success, influence often comes from creating space. Space for others to think, space for others to wonder, space for curiosity to grow. When you speak less but with intention, success, people remember your words. When you reveal yourself gradually, people remain interested. When you stop trying to force attention, attention begins to arrive naturally. Success, the silence becomes meaningful because it communicates confidence, patience, and emotional control. Instead of chasing interest, you become someone worth discovering. Success, someone whose presence creates questions, whose calmness creates intrigue. Success, and whose quiet confidence encourages others to pay closer attention in ways they cannot fully explain. Success. One of the biggest traps people fall into is spending their lives searching for validation from others. They want approval from friends, admiration from strangers, success, praise from coworkers, and acceptance from everyone around them. They carefully adjust their behavior based on what they think other people want to see. Success. They measure their worth by likes, compliments, attention, and recognition. Without realizing it, they hand over control of their confidence to the opinions of others. Success. The problem with this approach is that when your confidence depends on external validation, your emotional state becomes fragile. One compliment can make your day, success, but one criticism can destroy it. One moment of recognition can make you feel valuable, but one moment of rejection can make you question yourself. This is not confidence. Success. This is dependence disguised as confidence. The people who command attention naturally understand something that most individuals never learn: success. True confidence is not built on applause. It is not built on approval. It is not built on being admired. True confidence is built on self-respect. Success. It comes from knowing who you are regardless of how other people respond to you. When a person reaches this level of self-assurance, something remarkable happens. Success. Their energy changes, their behavior changes, their presence changes, and people notice it immediately. Success. Think about how many decisions people make every day because they fear judgment. They stay silent when they should speak. They agree when they actually disagree. Success. They hide their real opinions. They suppress their authentic personality. They constantly ask themselves, what will people think? That question becomes a prison. Success. It limits growth, destroys authenticity, and creates a version of life that revolves around pleasing others. Success. The irony is that the more someone tries to gain approval from everyone, the less respect they often receive. People sense uncertainty. They sense the need for validation. Success. And unconsciously, they respond to it. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine someone who is comfortable expressing themselves without constantly seeking permission. Success. They don't need everyone to agree with them. They don't need constant reassurance. They don't spend their entire day worrying about whether they are being liked. Success. This doesn't mean they are arrogant or disrespectful. It simply means they have developed an internal source of confidence. Success. Their self-worth comes from within rather than from the reactions of others. Because of this, they appear stronger, calmer, and more attractive. Success. One reason validation is so addictive is because it creates temporary emotional highs. Every compliment feels good. Every sign of recognition feels rewarding. Success. But those feelings never last. Soon the mind wants more attention, more praise, more proof that you are valuable. Success. This creates a cycle that can never truly be satisfied because external validation is unpredictable. Some people will support you. Others won't. Success. Some will admire your choices. Others will criticize them. If your confidence depends on their opinions, success. You will spend your life on an emotional roller coaster controlled by people who are often struggling with their own insecurities. Success. The most powerful individuals break free from this cycle. They understand that confidence grows through action, not approval. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, success, confidence grows. Every time you face discomfort instead of avoiding it, confidence grows. Every time you stand by your values, even when it is unpopular, confidence grows. Success. This type of confidence is real because it is based on evidence. It is based on your own experiences rather than someone else's opinion. Success. Have you ever noticed that people are naturally drawn to individuals who seem comfortable being themselves? There is something refreshing about authenticity. Success. In a world where so many people are performing for acceptance, genuine self-assurance stands out. Success. The person who doesn't desperately need attention often receives the most attention. The person who doesn't chase approval often earns the most respect. Success. This happens because confidence without validation signals strength. It communicates that your value is not for sale. Success. It shows that your identity is not dependent on public opinion. Many people believe they must impress others to command attention. Success. But attention gained through performance is temporary. It disappears the moment the performance ends. The attention that truly lasts comes from character. Success. It comes from self-respect. It comes from a quiet certainty that does not need constant reinforcement. When you stop seeking validation from every person you meet, success. You free yourself from an exhausting burden. You stop living for applause and start living according to your values, success. You stop shaping your identity around other people's expectations and start building it around your own principles. And when that transformation begins, success, people can feel it. They sense a level of confidence that cannot be faked because it is no longer dependent on praise, recognition, popularity, or approval. Success, but rooted deeply in an unshakable belief in your own worth and your ability to remain true to yourself regardless of what anyone else thinks. Success. Before you speak a single word, people have already started forming an opinion about you. They are observing your posture, your movements, your facial expressions. Success. The way you enter a room and even how comfortable you appear in your own space. This happens so quickly that most people are completely unaware of it. Success. Long before your ideas are evaluated, your body language is sending signals about your confidence, your emotional state, and your level of influence. Success. The silent psychology of commanding attention begins here. It begins with understanding that your body is always speaking, even when your mouth is not. Success. Most people focus almost entirely on what they are going to say. They spend hours thinking about the perfect words, the perfect response, success, or the perfect impression they want to create. But human beings are wired to pay attention to much more than words. In fact, success. When words and body language contradict each other, people almost always trust the body language. Someone can claim to be confident, but if they avoid eye contact, success, constantly fidget, and appear uncomfortable, their actions will speak louder than their words. Influence is not created by what you say about yourself. Success. It is created by what your behavior silently communicates. Think about the individuals who naturally command attention when they enter a room. They rarely rush. Success. Their movements appear deliberate rather than frantic. They don't seem eager to prove themselves. Success. They don't constantly seek approval through nervous gestures or excessive talking. There is a calmness in the way they carry themselves. Success. This calmness sends a powerful message. It tells others that they are comfortable, secure, and in control. Success. People instinctively respond to that energy because confidence is attractive and uncertainty is contagious. One of the most overlooked aspects of body language is posture. Success. The way you hold yourself influences not only how others see you, but also how you see yourself. When people feel insecure, they often make themselves physically smaller. Success. Their shoulders collapse forward. Their head drops. Their movements become hesitant. Without realizing it, they are communicating doubt. On the other hand, success. Someone who stands upright with relaxed confidence projects a completely different message. They appear more capable, more trustworthy, and more influential. Success. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about allowing your physical presence to reflect the confidence you want to develop. Success. Eye contact is another powerful element of silent influence. Many people avoid eye contact because they fear judgment, rejection, or discomfort. Success. But confident individuals understand that eye contact communicates certainty and presence. When someone looks at you while remaining calm and relaxed, success. It signals that they are engaged, attentive, and secure. They are not hiding. They are not seeking escape. They are fully present in the moment. Success. This simple behavior creates a stronger connection than most people realize. It makes conversations feel more meaningful and causes others to pay closer attention. Success. Movement also plays a significant role in how attention is perceived. People who constantly fidget, check their phones, adjust their clothing, success, or move nervously often communicate inner tension. Even if they say nothing, others can sense that anxiety. In contrast, success. People who move with intention appear more grounded. Their actions seem purposeful rather than reactive. They take their time. Success. They don't rush to fill every silence or react to every distraction. Success. This controlled pace creates an impression of confidence because it suggests that they are not operating from fear. Facial expressions are equally important. Success. Many individuals unknowingly allow stress, frustration, or insecurity to dominate their expressions. Their face becomes a reflection of internal chaos. Success. But influential people understand the value of emotional control. They don't force fake smiles or artificial reactions. Instead, success. They maintain a composed and authentic presence. Their expressions align with their emotions rather than fighting against them. Success. This consistency builds trust because people feel they are interacting with someone genuine. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of body language is congruence. Success. Congruence means that your thoughts, emotions, words, and actions are aligned. When someone is congruent, success. There is no conflict between what they say and what they communicate non-verbally. Their confidence feels real because it is real. Success. Their calmness feels authentic because it comes from within. People are naturally drawn to this kind of consistency because it creates a sense of certainty. Success. In a world where many individuals are trying to project an image, genuine congruence stands out immediately. Success. The truth is that commanding attention has very little to do with being the loudest person in the room. Success. It has far more to do with how you carry yourself when no words are being spoken. Every movement, every expression, every glance, and every posture choice sends a message. Success. When those messages communicate confidence, self-respect, and emotional stability, people notice. They may not even understand exactly why they are paying attention. Success. But they feel the impact of your presence because your body language is communicating strength, certainty, and influence long before you ever begin to speak. Success. Have you ever noticed how some people completely lose control when life becomes difficult, while others remain calm even in the middle of chaos? Success. The difference is not luck. It is not intelligence. It is not talent. More often than not, the difference is emotional control. And when it comes to commanding attention, success. Emotional control is one of the most powerful qualities a person can develop. In fact, many of the people who leave the strongest impression on others are not the loudest, success, the richest, or the most charismatic. They are simply the individuals who have learned how to master their emotions instead of allowing their emotions to master them. Success. Most people live reactively. They allow every comment, every criticism, every inconvenience, and every disappointment to dictate their mood. If someone praises them, success. They feel confident. If someone rejects them, they feel worthless. If something goes wrong, they panic. If something unexpected happens, they become overwhelmed. Success. Their emotional state is constantly changing because it is controlled by external circumstances. The problem with this approach is that it creates instability. Success and instability is difficult to trust. People naturally gravitate toward those who remain grounded because calmness signals strength. Success. Think about a moment when you faced a stressful situation. Maybe someone criticized you unfairly. Maybe things didn't go according to plan. Success. Maybe you felt misunderstood or disrespected. In those moments, your emotional reaction had the power to shape everything that happened next. Success. Many people react immediately. They become defensive, they argue, they try to prove themselves. They allow anger, frustration, or fear to take control. Success. But emotionally strong individuals understand something important. They know that not every feeling deserves an immediate reaction. Success. They understand that there is power in the pause. There is power in choosing your response instead of acting on impulse. This is where silent power begins. Success, it begins in the space between what happens to you and you respond to it. Most people never develop this skill because reacting feels natural. It feels automatic. Success. But reacting and responding are not the same thing. A reaction is driven by emotion. A response is guided by awareness. The person who reacts becomes predictable. Success. The person who responds becomes powerful. They maintain control over themselves regardless of what is happening around them. Success. One reason emotional control commands attention is because it is rare. Anyone can remain calm when everything is going well. Success. Anyone can appear confident when they are comfortable. But true character is revealed during pressure. True strength is revealed during uncertainty. Success. When challenges arise and emotions run high, most people expose their weaknesses. They become impatient, defensive, or emotionally driven. Success. The individual who remains composed stands out immediately because their behavior creates contrast. While everyone else is being controlled by the situation, success, they are controlling themselves. There is also a psychological effect that occurs when people observe emotional stability. Success. They begin to associate that person with leadership. Human beings instinctively look for signs of security during uncertainty. Success. We trust people who remain calm because calmness suggests competence. It suggests confidence. It suggests the ability to think clearly under pressure. This is why leaders, success, mentors, and influential individuals are often remembered not for what they said during difficult moments, but for how they carried themselves. Success. Emotional control does not mean suppressing your feelings. It does not mean pretending that nothing affects you. Success. It means understanding your emotions without becoming their prisoner. It means recognizing anger without allowing anger to control your actions. Success. It means feeling fear without letting fear make your decisions. It means experiencing disappointment without allowing disappointment to define your future. Success. This level of self-awareness creates a sense of inner freedom that many people spend their entire lives searching for. Success. Another reason emotional control is so attractive is because it creates predictability. Success. People feel safe around emotionally stable individuals because they know what to expect. They do not have to worry about sudden outbursts, dramatic reactions, success, or unpredictable behavior. Emotional stability builds trust, and trust is one of the foundations of influence. Success. The more people trust your ability to remain balanced under pressure, the more attention they give to your words and actions. Success. Perhaps the greatest advantage of emotional control is that it protects your energy. Every argument does not deserve your attention. Success. Every criticism does not deserve your response. Every challenge does not deserve your stress. Emotionally intelligent people understand that their energy is valuable. Success. They choose carefully where to invest it. Instead of reacting to everything, they focus on what truly matters. Success. This creates a sense of confidence that cannot be manufactured because it comes from discipline rather than emotion. Success. And when people encounter someone who remains calm while others lose control, who remains focused while others become distracted, success, and who remains steady while others become overwhelmed, success, they naturally recognize a form of strength that speaks louder than words and commands attention without ever demanding it, success. At this point, you may be realizing something important. Commanding attention has very little to do with being louder, more aggressive, more attractive, success, or more outgoing than everyone else. The people who become impossible to ignore are rarely the ones who spend their lives trying to force attention toward themselves. Success. Instead, they develop qualities that naturally attract attention. They build a presence that speaks before they speak. Success. They cultivate confidence that does not depend on validation. They master emotional control. They understand the power of silence. And over time, success. These qualities combine to create something powerful, a person whose presence leaves a lasting impression wherever they go. Success. Most people spend years chasing attention without ever understanding why it continues to escape them. They think attention is something they can demand. Success. They believe respect comes from proving themselves repeatedly. They assume influence is achieved by constantly reminding others of their value. Success. But attention gained through force is temporary. Respect gained through performance is fragile. The moment you stop performing, the attention disappears. Success. The moment you stop proving yourself, the validation fades. This is why so many people feel exhausted. Success. They are trapped in a cycle of constantly trying to earn something that can never truly satisfy them. The people who become impossible to ignore take a different path. Success. Instead of focusing on how others see them, they focus on who they are becoming. They understand that real influence begins with self-development. Success. Every day they work on their mindset, their habits, their discipline, and their emotional strength. Success. They become so focused on growth that attention becomes a byproduct rather than a goal. Ironically, this is when people begin noticing them the most. Success. There is something incredibly attractive about a person who is moving with purpose. Success. A person who is building a meaningful life naturally stands out in a world where many are simply seeking approval. Success. Think about the individuals who have left the strongest impression on you throughout your life. Chances are you remember them not because they demanded attention, success, but because they possessed qualities that were difficult to forget. Maybe they carried themselves with confidence. Maybe they remained calm under pressure. Success. Maybe they treated others with respect while maintaining strong boundaries. Maybe they had a clear sense of purpose that inspired everyone around them. Whatever it was, success. Their impact came from who they were, not from how desperately they wanted to be noticed. Success. One of the greatest misconceptions about influence is that it requires constant visibility. In reality, success. Some of the most influential people understand the value of restraint. They do not reveal everything about themselves. They do not react to every criticism. Success. They do not chase every opportunity for attention. Instead, they focus on becoming valuable. They invest in their skills. They strengthen their character. Success. They improve their thinking. They understand that when value increases, attention follows naturally. People are drawn towards strength, competence, success, and authenticity because these qualities are increasingly rare. Another key aspect of becoming impossible to ignore is consistency. Success. Many people display confidence occasionally. They show discipline when they feel motivated. They remain calm when circumstances are favorable. Success. But truly influential individuals remain consistent regardless of the situation. Their values do not change based on who is watching. Success. Their behavior does not depend on external praise. Their standards remain high even when nobody is paying attention. This consistency creates trust, success. And trust is one of the most powerful forms of influence a person can possess. There is also a deeper psychological shift that occurs when you stop chasing attention. Success, your focus changes from external approval to internal mastery. You begin asking different questions. Instead of wondering how to impress people, success, you ask how to improve yourself. Instead of worrying about how others perceive you, you focus on developing qualities that make you proud of who you are. Success. Instead of seeking recognition, you seek growth. And this shift changes everything because people can sense when someone is driven by purpose rather than validation. Success. The truth is that becoming impossible to ignore is not about learning a trick, a technique, or a shortcut. Success. It is about becoming the kind of person whose presence naturally commands attention. It is about developing quiet confidence, emotional discipline, strong character, success, meaningful goals, and genuine self-respect. These qualities cannot be faked for long because they are built through daily choices. Success. Every time you choose growth over comfort, discipline over excuses, confidence over approval seeking, and purpose over distraction, success. You are shaping a version of yourself that stands out without trying. And eventually, people begin to notice something different about you. Success. They may not be able to explain it. They may not understand exactly why you seem more confident, more respected, and more memorable than before. But they feel it, success. Because true influence is never forced, true presence is never manufactured, success. And the individuals who become impossible to ignore are the ones who have learned to master themselves before trying to influence anyone else, success. As we come to the end of this journey, remember that the silent psychology of commanding attention is not about manipulating people, forcing respect, success, or becoming someone you are not. It is about discovering the power that already exists within you. Throughout this speech, success, we explored how true presence begins with self-awareness, how silence creates curiosity, how confidence grows when it no longer depends on validation, success, how body language communicates influence before words are spoken, and how emotional control becomes a source of silent strength, success. These are not tricks designed to impress others. They are qualities that transform the way you see yourself, and as a result, transform the way the world sees you, success. The reality is that most people spend their lives chasing attention, approval, and recognition, believing that these things will finally make them feel valuable. Success. But attention gained through chasing is temporary. Approval gained through performance is fragile. Real influence is built differently. Success. It is built when you become comfortable in your own skin. It is built when you stop seeking permission to be yourself. Success. It is built when your confidence comes from your character rather than from compliments. Success. The moment you stop obsessing over how others perceive you is often the moment you become most noticeable. Never underestimate the impact of quiet confidence. Success. Never underestimate the power of walking into a room without needing to prove your worth. Success. Never underestimate what happens when your actions align with your values and your presence reflects genuine self-respect. Success. People are naturally drawn to individuals who know who they are. They trust those who remain calm under pressure. Success. They remember those who make them feel the strength of character without needing to announce it. In a world filled with noise, arguments, distractions, success, and constant demands for attention, your ability to remain grounded becomes a rare and valuable quality. From this day forward, success. Challenge yourself to focus less on being noticed and more on becoming someone worth noticing. Success. Focus less on convincing people of your value and more on creating value through your actions. Focus less on external validation and more on internal growth. Success. Every day is an opportunity to strengthen your mindset, improve your discipline, refine your character, success, and develop the quiet confidence that cannot be shaken by opinions or circumstances. Success. Because the people who leave the greatest impact are not always the loudest voices in the room. They are the individuals whose presence speaks for them. Success. Whose confidence comes from within and whose strength is felt long before a single word is spoken.